The fall from grace, the rain pounded against the hospital windows as Clara gripped Nathan's hand, her knuckles white. Dr. Mercer's voice was gentle, but final. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Sterling. The tests show severe endometriosis. Conception will be ... unlikely." Nathan's grip slackened. His face, usually so composed, twisted into something cold. "Unlikely or impossible?" he demanded. "With treatments, there's a chance we'll discuss this at home," Nathan cut in, standing abruptly. The car ride was silent. Clara stared at her reflection in the window, a ghost of the woman who'd entered the clinic with hope. Eleanor Sterling was waiting in the marble foyer of their estate, her sharp eyes scanning Clara's tear-streaked face. "Well, she's barren," Nathan said flatly. The word barren hung in the air like a death sentence. Eleanor's lips thinned. "I see." She turned away, her heels clicking against the tile. "Dinner is at 8. Don't be late." That night, Clara lay beside Nathan, the space between them a chasm. "We could adopt," she whispered. "My mother would never accept it," he replied, back-turned. "Sterlings don't raise strangers' children." Months passed in a blur of fertility treatments, silent dinners, and Eleanor's veiled insults. "Marina's daughter-in-law is pregnant again," she'd muse over breakfast. Such a blessing. Then came the final blow. Clara returned from another negative test to find Nathan at his desk. Divorce papers laid out. "Sign them," he said. "Prenup ensures you leave with nothing." Eleanor appeared, holding a suitcase. "The driver will take you wherever you wish." Clara's hands shook as she packed her wedding album, the only thing she fought to keep. "You'll regret this," she said softly. Nathan didn't look up. Doubtful. The taxi dropped her at a motel, the neon sign flickering vacancy like a cruel joke. The room smelled of mildew and despair. Clara sat on the stiff mattress, clutching her grandmother's locket. What now? The next morning, she walked into Lopez Dry Cleaners, her last clean blouse wrinkled. "I need a job," she told the weary owner. "Ever ironed a shirt, Lopez?" asked Clara led. Yes. She spent days steaming silk blouses for women who'd once been her peers, their eyes sliding past her as if she were invisible. At night, she scrubbed office bathrooms, chemical burns on her hands a stark contrast to her former life. Then, one rainy afternoon, she bumped into Mr. Delgado, an old friend of her father's. "Clara Garcia. Dios mio, what happened to you?" Tears spilled as the story tumbled out. Delgado's face darkened. "Come work for me. My logistics firm needs someone sharp." Clara's first real break. But as she left the dry cleaners for the last time, she made a silent vow. "I'll return. They'll choke on their regret." The fluorescent lights of Delgado Logistics hummed overhead as Clara adjusted her chair, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Spreadsheets, invoices, and shipping manifests filled the screen. Numbers that had once intimidated her now made perfect sense. "You're a natural at this," Mr. Delgado remarked, peering over her shoulder. Clara smiled faintly. "Turns out organizing a billionaire's household trains you for logistics." She worked late every night, memorizing trade routes, profit margins, and supply chains. While her coworkers left at 5, she stayed, poring over finance articles on the office computer. One evening, she stumbled upon an article about startup investments. A small tech company, Nexa Innovations, was seeking angel investors. The founder's vision, affordable solar energy for developing countries, struck chord. Her hands trembled as she withdrew her meager savings, $5,000. Every penny she'd scraped together. This could be nothing, she whispered to herself, or everything she invested. 6 months later, her phone buzzed with a notification. Nexa Innovations acquired by major tech firm, shares up 400%. Clara's breath caught. Her $5,000 had just become $20,000. She reinvested half into another startup, BioVita, a biotech firm specializing in fertility solutions. The irony wasn't lost on her. Maybe this will help someone else, she thought, pushing down the old ache in her chest. By the end of the year, her portfolio had grown to $200,000. She quit Delgado Logistics, using her earnings to launch Garcia, consulting a firm helping small businesses streamline operations. Her first client? a struggling book cafe owned by a kind-eyed man named Matteo. The caf and the social worker Caf Saleo was a cozy, mismatched haven wooden tables stacked with books. The scent of espresso and old paper thick in the air. Clara had chosen it for her morning meetings, drawn by its quiet charm. The owner, Matteo Reyes, was a man who moved with deliberate calm. Tall, with warm brown eyes and hands that handled coffee cups like they were something precious. "You're the consultant?" he asked, sliding a cappuccino across the counter. Clara nodded. "Your profit margins are shrinking because you're over-ordering inventory. I can fix that." Matteo leaned against the counter, studying her. "Why help a tiny cafe?" "Because everyone deserves a fighting chance," she said softly. Something in his gaze softened. "You sound like you speak from experience." She didn't answer. Weeks passed. Clara restructured Matteo's supply chain, negotiated with vendors, and even helped him expand into online book sales. Profits soared. One rainy evening, as she reviewed invoices in the cafe's back room, Matteo appeared with 2 steaming mugs. "You always work late," Clara sighed. "Old habit." He sat beside her. "You never talk about yourself." The words slipped out before she could stop them. "I used to be married to a man who threw me out because I couldn't give him a child." Silence. "Then his loss," Matteo said simply. "You're the most capable person I've ever met." Clara's throat tightened. No pity. No awkward condolences. Just acceptance. The first kiss had happened after a community fundraiser Matteo had organized for foster kids. Clara had stayed to help clean up, their shoulders brushing as they stacked chairs. "You're good with them?" she remarked, watching him kneel. "To tie a child's shoelace earlier," Matteo shrugged. "I was in foster care. I know what it's like to feel unwanted." The raw honesty stunned her. Without thinking, she reached for his hand. He stilled, and then slowly his fingers laced through hers. When he kissed her, it wasn't like Nathan's calculated affection. It was warm, real. Clara's heart, long frozen, began to thaw. The ultimate rejection letter one morning. Clara's assistant rushed in. "You've been invited to the Sterling Women's Leadership Summit?" Clara's blood ran cold. The event was hosted by Diana Sterling, Nathan's sister. A slow smile curved her lips. "Decline," she said. "But send this instead." She attached her company's latest financial report, her net worth now $3.7 million. Her client list, including firms the Sterlings could only dream of partnering with. At the bottom, she wrote, "Some trees flourish after they're uprooted. See Garcia?" The proposal under fairy lights. The cafe was closed, the chairs upturned on tables, the scent of cinnamon and roasted coffee beans lingering in the air. Clara sat curled in the window nook, reviewing inventory reports, when the lights suddenly dimmed. She looked up. Matteo stood in the center of the room, single string of fairy lights glowing above him like captured stars. His hands were shoved into his pockets, his usual calm replaced with something nervous, hopeful. "Clara," he began, voice rough, "I don't have a ring or a speech, but I have this." He pulled out a folded piece of paper, a deed, Caf Saleo. Now coned by Clara Garcia, her breath hitched. "I don't need you to say yes," he said softly. "I just need you to know this is yours. You're mine, in whatever way you'll have me." Tears blurred her vision. For the first time in years, she didn't think of Nathan. Didn't think of the sterile mansion, the cold dinners, the way Eleanor's voice had dripped with disdain. She thought of the warmth of Matteo's hands, the way he kissed her forehead when she was tired, the quiet certainty that he saw her, not what she could give him. "Yes," she whispered, and then she was in his arms, laughing against his lips as he spun her in the empty cafe. The fairy lights twinkling like a promise, the miracle the nausea hit her 3 months later at first. Clara blamed the cafe's new Ethiopian roast, then the stress of expanding her consulting firm. But when the dizziness didn't fade, she dug out an old pregnancy test from the back of her bathroom cabinet left over from that life. 2 pink lines. She stared. "No," the doctors said, a knock. Matteo poked his head in. "You okay? You've been in here a while?" Clara wordlessly held up the test. His face went slack. And slowly, a smile bright disbelieving spread across his face. Clara, Clara. She burst into tears. The doctor confirmed it. A fluke, a medical anomaly, a miracle. Clara didn't care what they called it. She was going to have a baby. Nathan's. Downfall news traveled fast in elite circles. Clara heard it from a former sterling maid who now worked for one of her clients. Nathan's bankrupt. His latest venture collapsed. Eleanor selling her jewelry to keep the estate. She should have felt vindicated. Instead, she felt nothing. Matteo squeezed her hand. You're not going to gloat. Clara placed a palm on her swelling stomach. What for? I've already won. The letter from Diana Sterling, it arrived in a cream-colored envelope. Sterling crest, embossed in gold. Dear Ms. Garcia, the Sterling Foundation is hosting its annual Women in Business Gala. Given your rising influence, we'd be honored by your attendance. Sincerely, Diana Sterling. Clara smirked. Diana had no idea who she was inviting. Matteo raised a brow.
Ow, you're not seriously going?
She traced the embossed lettering. I'm going, and I'm bringing our daughter. The private jet, the wheels of Clara's Gulfstream G650, touched down on the private airstrip just outside the city. The same one Nathan's family had used for their European vacations. The same one she'd been forbidden from joining because it's for family only. Now, she owned a better jet. Matteo adjusted his tie in the reflection of the window, their daughter Isabel, cradled against his chest. You sure about this? Clara smoothed her custom sapphire blue gown, the fabric shimmering like crushed gemstones. I've never been more sure of anything. The limo ride to the Sterling estate was silent. Isabel's tiny fingers wrapped around Clara's thumb. This was for her. For the woman Clara had been. For the woman she'd become. The gala, the Sterling mansion, loomed ahead, its marble columns lit by golden spotlights. Valets in black suits rushed to open doors for the elite guest CEOs, socialites, old money heirs. Then Clara stepped out. A hush fell. Whispers erupted like wildfire. Is that Clara Garcia? The logistics mogul. Oh, that's Clara Sterling, asterisk core. Well, she was asterisk. Diana Sterling, standing at the entrance in a stiff silver gown, nearly dropped her champagne flute. Clara smiled. Hello, Diana. Diana's mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes darted to Matteo, then to the baby in his arms. You have a child? Asterisk. Clara adjusted Isabel's lace headband. Yes, a daughter. What? The unspoken words hung in the air. The one Nathan said I'd never have. Nathan's reaction. He stood frozen in the grand ballroom. His tailored suit slightly too loose on his frame, proof of the financial strain Clara had heard about. When he saw her, his face drained of color. Clara. His voice was barely audible. She didn't flinch. Nathan. His gaze locked onto Isabel, his throat working. How? Life works in funny ways, Clara said lightly. Turns out, I wasn't the problem after all. Nathan flinched. Eleanor appeared beside him, her once impeccable posture slightly hunched. Didn't speak. Just stared at Isabel with something like grief. Clara turned away before they could see her satisfaction. The powers shift as Clara mingled her consulting clients fawning over her. Investors clamoring for her attention. She caught snippets of conversation. Nathan's finished. His last deal fell through. Eleanor had to sell her emerald necklace. And now Clara's back. Richer than all of them combined. Diana cornered her near the champagne tower. You planned this. Clara sipped her drink. Planned what? Attending a gala I was invited to? You're humiliating us. No, Clara corrected. You humiliated yourselves the day you threw me out with nothing but a suitcase? Diana's lips pressed into a thin line. Then, shockingly, we need your help. Clara laughed. Excuse me? The Sterling Foundation is collapsing. Our investors are pulling out. If you lend your name just a few appearances, we could recover. Clara studied her. And why would I do that? Diana's voice dropped. Because I was the only one who disagreed when they kicked you out. A beat of silence. Clara exhaled. I'll think about it. The final scene as the limo pulled away from the mansion. Isabel asleep against her chest. Matteo took Clara's hand. You okay? She leaned into him. Better than okay. She hadn't needed revenge. Her happiness was revenge enough. The birth of the Phoenix Foundation, 6 months after the gala. Clara stood in a sunlit office overlooking the city, a brass plaque on her desk gleaming. Clara Garcia is founder. The Phoenix Foundation empowering women to rise from the ashes. Matteo leaned against the doorway. Isabel balanced on his hip, her tiny fists clutching a stuffed elephant. First meeting today? Clara nodded, adjusting a stack of folders. Our first 5 scholarship recipients? All left with nothing after their divorces, just like me. A knock. A young woman with wary eyes and a too-big blazer stepped in. Ms. Garcia? I'm Minia Cole. You're really giving out grants? Clara smiled. Not just grants. Housing stipends, career training, therapy. She handed Lydia a business plan. This is yours now. Let's build your comeback. Lydia's chin trembled. Why are you doing this? Clara glanced at Isabel, at Matteo. Because someone should have done it for me. Nathan's desperate visit a year later, Clara was reviewing budgets when her assistant buzzed in. There's a Mr. Sterling here to see you. Her pen stilled. Nathan stood in her lobby, his once polished shoes scuffed, his suit threadbare at the cuffs. Clara. His voice was raw. I need money. She arched a brow. He flinched. A job, any job. The bank's foreclosing on the estate. For a moment she saw the ghost of the man who'd once sneered at her barrenness. Now he was the one begging. She pushed a form across the desk. We're hiring drivers for our mobile career workshops. It's honest work. Nathan's jaw tightened. You're enjoying this? No, Clara said softly. But I'm not stopping it. As he left, Matteo appeared, slipping an arm around her waist. Mercy looks good on you. The final piece on Isabel's 5th birthday, Clara received a package of velvet. Box with Eleanor's emerald necklace inside. A note for Isabel. The only Sterling who ever deserved it. Clara tucked it into her daughter's jewelry chest. Unopened. Some ghost didn't need haunting. Epilogue. The garden that evening. Clara sat in their backyard watching Isabel chase fireflies. Matteo handed her a glass of wine. Regrets, asked she. Thought of the sterile mansion, the suitcase, the $20 taxi fare. Then of Isabel's laugh, the foundation's success, the way Lydia had just opened her own bakery. Not one. As the stars emerged, Clara realized they'd called her barren, but her life was overflowing.